Into the Health Club this morning, which is brought to you by Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature. And we're talking about hormonal imbalances. Now, there are over 6,000 endocrine disorders that come about as a result of hormonal imbalances. Most of these occur in women, but some can actually occur in men as well. Let's take a look at this short story.
Are you having a hard time maintaining a healthy weight? Are you experiencing an increase in belly fat, though you may be eating right? Do you often have insomnia, poor sleeping habits, and a low sexual drive? Or do you normally feel sluggish, scattered, or mentally foggy? Can't go through a day without sweating profusely, cravings, and digestive problems? Then you may be having a hormonal imbalance. Talk of hormones, and I'm sure menopausal women often come to mind. But hormonal changes can affect everyone from birth to death. Our lifestyle and diet, coupled with pollution, toxins and synthetic chemicals, have attributed to the rising speed of hormonal symptoms earlier in women lately. Every month, the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone, are produced. When estrogen and progesterone levels do not balance, this may have a dramatic effect on your health. From premenstrual symptoms to perimenopause and on to menopause, hormonal ups and downs can wreak havoc on a woman's life. Ever seen people lose hair frequently? Hormonal imbalance may be a factor. Hormonal imbalance also is sometimes the cause for the physical and emotional experiences associated with menopause. Sure, you want to know how these can be prevented or minimized. Let's turn to our doctors once again for help.
Okay, so welcome back to the studio. Our guest this morning is Dr. Dennis Borte. He is a medical practitioner and is one of our long-standing resource people here on NewDay. So good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Ben.
How's everything going?
Cool.
Good. All right, so we're talking about hormonal imbalances today, and I know the basics of it all. With men we have more testosterone than we have estrogen. And then women, they have more estrogen than they have testosterone. But obviously that is meant to be the perfect balance for our particular gender, right? So how do hormonal imbalances occur then?
Well, just as he said, we as men, we have what differentiates us is the testosterone, and then for the women is the estrogen and progesterone. Mm-hmm. These are hormones that are produced from our sexual organs.
Okay.
So for the man is the testes, and then with the women is the ovaries that produce the estrogen. Apart from that, the hormones that a person secretes, both men and women secrete about the same thing. There are so many glands in the body that produce hormones. And then when the hormones are produced, they go through the blood and they take effects at some other parts of the body. So the thyroid is there, the pituitary gland in the brain, the pancreas, both men and women will secrete the same thing.
Yes.
What differentiates is the sexual organs.
Right.
Now, when it comes to imbalances of these hormones, it means that probably there is an overproduction of the hormone or underproduction of the hormone.
Okay.
So what the testosterone is supposed to do for you, if there's an overproduction of it, it may take a certain effect. If there's underproduction of it, it may take a certain effect. Okay. And the same thing for the women. So in the case of a man who has high levels of testosterone and low levels of estrogen, if it should happen that a man should have a man's estrogen level should go a little higher than what it's supposed to be, then a man will start showing some features of feminism.
Okay, so physical attributes. So we're talking about the
development breast and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Apart from that, maybe a man with a liver problem can also have development of breast, what we call gynecomastia.
Right.
In the same way, if a woman should have increased levels of testosterone, the male hormone in her, that means that she may also show some features of masculinity.
Okay.
In which case, he may have maybe a huger voice or hoarser voice.
So like a deeper voice.
Yeah, and a lot of hair.
Facial hair.
Yeah, facial hair, hirsutism as we call it. So these are imbalances. But then, you could have a woman who has normal levels of testosterone, but then she may go through hormonal imbalances and which usually for women, every month they go through certain cycles.
Right.
For most of the women, you know that at puberty they begin to produce their estrogen and go through the menstrual cycle.
Yes.
At a point in time when they get to menopause, then things take a downturn.
Right.
And that is what every woman's, like I would say, every woman's Waterloo. At that point, it's very difficult in life,
Yeah.
where the levels of estrogen goes a little bit down, and then they cannot menstruate anymore. This comes with mood changes. But even in between the time of puberty and menopause, a woman still goes through, most women, a lot of women can go through hormonal changes, and the signs and symptoms are, I guess, what we're going to talk about.
Exactly that, which leads to the next question. How do we see these signs and symptoms? I mean, how do we see when somebody is going through a chemical imbalance? We, the men, would probably just look at a woman and say, you know what, it's that time of the month. She's probably, you know, a bit imbalanced. But is it as simple as that?
Yeah, it's not that simple. It's complex. I mean, the female Homo sapien is very complex. For example, we have only testosterone. They have, at a point in their cycle, they have estrogen working, and then ovulation time comes. They ovulate, and after that, another hormone takes over. Progesterone will be high levels. If they should get pregnant, then the progesterone levels will keep rising and rising and rising throughout pregnancy. So you see the kind of changes they go through in pregnancy. It's very uncomfortable. Some of them may go through vomiting. Some of them may go through a lot of facial acne and serious challenges during that time. So some of the causes of these hormonal changes or imbalances in women, one may, apart from age, which is either puberty or menopause, and in between, other thing could be maybe apart from lifestyle. They could also be pregnancy, and sometimes stresses that the woman may go through can affect her hormonal changes, and then she may go through some of these kind of mood swings that we've talked about.
Right.
At this point in time is when somebody is even passing a comment somewhere, and then a woman will just take it as, and then she may full-blown anger or something that doesn't concern her. She might think that she's a target for attack, and then she might reply. So these things will happen. And then in some times when a woman is going through mood hormonal changes, what happens is that sometimes you realize that as a woman, you begin to put on weight. You are putting on weight persistently, and you don't know why you are putting on the weight. And sometimes your sleep patterns change. You realize that you are not sleeping well. You have insomnia. These could mean that probably your hormones are not in good balance. Sometimes your bleeding, your monthly bleeding or vaginal bleeding may be irregular, or maybe you may bleed too heavily, and that could also mean that there is a change in the pattern of the hormones that you are secreting, which imbalance leads to abnormal vaginal bleed. So these are some of the symptoms that a woman may go through.
Now, I want to talk about certain forms of medication or supplements, and I'm going to give you two different scenarios here. First off would be athletes. You know, when you look at certain female athletes, you can see them, they do have somewhat muscular figures, and like you said, you know, may not have the full attributes of what we would call a natural woman. You know, maybe smaller, flatter chest, more muscular. Is that because of maybe the supplements and the things that they could be taking while training? The anabolics, maybe steroids, those things affect hormones as well? Beautiful.
Anabolic steroids are known to affect hormones to a great extent. So those who are on steroids may have changes in their body. That notwithstanding, it doesn't mean that every woman who is looking muscular is on steroids. Some of them, for the mere fact that they've been exercising, lifting weights and things, naturally they may develop the muscles. And also because maybe they have a little bit higher levels of testosterone, it even boosts their masculinity, let me say female masculinity, a bit more. But those who are on the steroids, they even go through more of the mood changes and then the hormonal changes.
And that's in both men and women?
Yeah, it goes to men and women. So if a man should be put on a lot of
muscle
estrogen tablets or medications, it gradually changes his being. So a woman should be taking testosterone. That means that her muscles will start building up, and she's going to start having all the
things like birth control, do they have an effect on women when it comes to hormones?
Beautiful. That is, I'll call that the chicken and egg story. When it comes to birth control pills, the chicken and egg who is older. Some women will have hormonal imbalances as a result of taking birth control pills. Now, again, for a woman who is not on birth control pills but already having hormonal challenges or hormonal imbalances, one of the modes of treatment is to put the person on birth control pills to regulate the cycle.
Okay.
For example, a woman who probably has irregular cycles, 3 months, her period is not coming, flowing. We go through the test and realize that probably there is imbalance in the hormones the way they are supposed to. Sometimes put them on birth control pills, even though that is not, the reason is not for birth control.
Right.
But the birth control pills have been made in a certain way that it contains maybe amount of estrogen, amount of progesterone. So every tablet, you are told what to take on day one.
Okay.
So a certain level of estrogen and a certain level of progesterone, so that it regulates your cycle. At the point you have the brown tablet, which is iron.
Right.
So at that time you are not, the brown tablets mean that it's not estrogen or progesterone, it's just iron tablets. So that means you are off the hormones, and then your period is going to flow. So that is how it works. So it's that's why I say it's chicken and egg story. You have birth control pills could cause hormonal imbalances, and also it's the same thing too in the case of somebody who doesn't have who's not on birth control and yet having hormonal problems. The birth control pills can be used to solve the problem.
Okay. Staying on medication, there are certain medications that will contain a certain amount of steroids or hormones. For instance, people who have asthma, inhalers have a certain amount of steroids. If there's particular, skin creams that may have steroid based, are those steroids or those hormones in those medications enough to cause somebody a hormone imbalance?
Yes, definitely. Persistent use of skin creams that contain steroids definitely leads to a woman having is one of the causes why a woman will have hormonal imbalances.
Well, that's good.
And medications that contain steroids are really, really dangerous. So usually a doctor wouldn't want to put you on steroids for a prolonged period of time, probably for a short period of time, just to have a certain effect. I mean, once that is dealt with, then he takes you off it. Prolonged steroids can actually even reduce your immunity. It will lead to what we call your bone marrow that produces your blood cells can be suppressed, and then you cannot produce your cells very well. So the use of steroids are supposed to be very meticulous and probably for short periods. But if somebody is persistently using it on their skin, it still seeps into the blood, and then goes into your system. It affects your adrenal glands. So you go through adrenal gland suppression, and that can affect you in so many different ways. So people are asked to be very, very cautious in the use of steroids.
So let's just say in an extreme case where the hormonal imbalance has not been addressed, what would be the outcome?
When the hormonal problem is not addressed, it can lead to a lot more things. For example, if let's take the extreme in menopause. For example, if a woman's hormones dip down and they are going through the hot flashes, they are going through the insomnia, they can't sleep, they are going through the mood swings, they get angry easily. If it gets to a certain point that a doctor needs to give you hormone replacement, then they will give you. If it's not done, you realize that, especially for the women, when their hormones go down so much, they easily get what we call arthritis in their menopausal ages. They get arthritis, bone and problems easily. Their bones, the bone density goes down. So you realize that Abrewa, she just falls and they break their legs. So at that time, they have the bone density going down. We call it osteopenia. And then they easily get fractures. So the hormonal imbalances can lead to other problems as well.
Okay. Doc, I want to say thank you for coming in and obviously educating us a lot more in regards to hormonal imbalances. And obviously, if you're out there and you need any help, please seek the advice of your doctor. I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Dennis Bote for joining us this morning and talking about hormonal imbalances. Now we're going over to Kevin, and hopefully we've got some messages from the general public on social media in regards to this particular topic.
Comments on hormonal imbalance, and we'll go ahead and just take them. We asked you, how distressing can hormonal balance be? Share your experience and how sufferers should go about it. Let's just run through some here, and let's see. A.B. Bajumba says some are severe to the extent that the person feels bad to mingle due to stigmatization. Okay, that's a good point there. Troy Boateng Ajiman says, I think it won't be easy at all for people like that. Just imagine, how can you even take a selfie with a graphical face like this? Why are you thinking about a selfie, Troy? Let's go through some more here. Patrick Senor says, this can kill your self-esteem since you are not too proud of your own image. Let's see. King Jazzy says, the only way that you can try is you should stop eating too much of oil things. Please stop thinking a lot and take ampicillin for your medical drugs. Okay. I've not heard of that drug before, but okay. Let's see. Otis says, it makes you feel bad when you are in the midst of people, but Farmadem or chocolate cream is good to use. Okay. Let me take a few more here. Fruitful is asking any medication, if there are any medication at all. I'm sure you've learned a thing or two from our studio discussion. Let me go through some more here. Savali Kelvin says, it is not always comfortable to have those things on the face. God save us. Let me take a couple more. Anvari Theodore says, hormonal imbalance takes one's beauty away and sometimes make it so difficult to go out. It may even affect one's social life. Okay, let me go for my final one from Ferdinand, who says the only cure is to bleach, but it's not good to bleach either. Of course, it is not good to bleach at all. That is not the only cure. So that is it for our comments.